your instrument, you're going to go, what the fuck? I'm the violin. Just
like when I was trying to play like really low and doing all that other stuff.
What is it? Oh no, your fluctuations.
But
your ear tones. It's about the placement in the orchestra of the different instruments, and saxophone in a jazz band always has that frontal thing, right?
About
Charlie Parker.
I mean, saxophone is mostly a solo instrument.
Yeah, but
There we go.
And I'm not part of the rhythm section. That's the
Why
other
not?
thing.
Why not? Could be. Guitar not necessarily does that, what he's doing, and we've never had this before in history, so this one gets to fuck around a lot. But the saxophone is a traditional position in...
that's what we talked. Remember we talked about the idea of
nothing
the
we told.
Right.
and there's that sort of thing, and it's fine, but it's almost sometimes being aware that that was kind of more or less taking the solo top line along. And it's 15 minutes, and it's fine when you're doing it, but this is almost like we're talking about these automatic do with the music, but the kind of automatic default things that we do without the history of our instrument and actually our conditioning, and it's that sort of thing. There's no reason why you couldn't somehow conceive yourself as the bass in there, whether you're being.
That's true. It's just that for the first time I actually heard the acoustics
I
in
could
this
hear you
room.
really enjoy it. I could really hear you enjoying it. And it was kind of at the expense of what was going on around here, but I could hear you just really getting into.
Well, I was also kind of
Yeah.
going off of what everybody was doing.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool to like, wow, they're actually doing something because of what I just played.
That's most probably almost something we must need to get out of our systems, because it's a bit like, fuck, this is great. So
Yeah,
I think there's a bit of
2-minute break. But any questions fresh before I go away with this?
less almost equal positioning.
No, or do you want to? You're cool. I have things to say.
Are we cool?
Absolutely, yeah, that's all. You're really working it. You're working it, aren't you? You're working it. As cool as you can be is working. I have some things I can help you with. We're going to come back and I'm going to get into a more area about choice. It's another brain area, but it's also to do with the composition.
I guess that's
It's
sort
going
of.
to be fun. I promise you.
It really depends also on the.
Okay.
This is what the jaw's good for.
You know, we're recording it. Maybe we just tell the people who are coming late. Just go watch the video before you come to the workshop. Then they get the
There's
backstory.
this guy for me in Alfredo. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I usually do work this way. The lecture comes out the first day or two and then stop. 5 days stop, 4 days. But with people coming in, but we can, I like switching it up. I don't like having a technique, so I'm happy to fuck up this. We're happy. We're happy.
All right. What was the question? Sorry.
The question had to do with since we're making choices, whether the choices we're making are for the I that is the audience,
For yourself or for the?
whether we're making the choice for ourselves alone. And that was the question I posed at the outset.
Multiply that question and say, am I making a choice triggering on people's other choices?
Oh, I assumed that.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I assumed that would be the
But
case.
don't assume everybody's saying
Yeah,
it.
okay.
That's the elephant. That one's maybe not there. But in fact, your choice is based on other people's choices. Or is your choice based on what I feel I'm doing with that music? Or is my choice based on what I think people should see? That's it, right? Are we all having that question by now?
I think not maybe like I think it's something that I've thought about over time, but I'm not thinking about it in that, like the exact same way right now. Yeah, but they're all like questions that are relevant to the topic of improvisation generally.
Which are, put it in your words.
What is the impulse for whatever choice that we make? Why do we make the choices that we make?
Good question. That's a really smart question. And then go on with that. Go on with these. Put it in your words. What you go through.
No, it was just you said something about we're choosing for ourselves or choosing for the audience. Sometimes I really feel like if there is chaos going on, and especially when the music is really intense, that maybe I really want to go with the music, but I feel that for the I, that it's necessary that someone just stand still. And it's not a question that, it's not something that I feel like it's what I want to do. I want to throw myself on the floor, I want to go crazy, but I feel that for the people that are watching, it's necessary to have that center, like something to center the...
So your composition mind comes into play, and your performative mind is struggling. something like that.
Yeah.
Because the performative is one about get it out there, right? All that, right?
Yeah, so there's a conflict.
And there you are in this improvisation model, having to be the performative and the composer all at once. Absolutely, it is questionable that. Yeah.
Thinking of working with music, and it feels like the music inhabits not just all the space, but also the space that is me, and then choosing to do the same thing as the music does in me, or do a different thing and still have that music be there.
Oh my, what is that so sad? You don't have to do all that.
Oh, and keep my job.
There's something triggering about the music. So, you know, in the way you just articulated that, it's very thoughtful. And what you should realize is you're having feelings. And that's simple. And now what you're toying with, what do I do with these feelings? And you can't assume those feelings are coming in you. And they're not. They're out here. You didn't make that music, they did. It's just that you're having feelings. And so we can take ourselves very seriously at that moment. Maybe a little too seriously. Like, I didn't make the music, they did. And even after they made it, it doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the space. It belongs to the silos outside. It has nothing to do with myself. I'm just having feelings. But I can be in pause having feelings. I can be in exit having feelings. I can be out there and still hear the music and not see anything and having feelings. Feelings are time-worthy, and you don't know how long you're going to have those feelings. So your feelings you never inhibit. If you feel like crying in my case, you cry. If you feel like whatever you need to do with your feelings, you do. But just because you have a feeling doesn't mean that this makes you better with your feeling. You see what I'm saying? And what you're doing is nothing to do with your feeling. Because if I feel like crying, I produce water out of my eyes. If I feel like, what we're doing is something else. I'm having a feeling, and then I'm doing this thinking that's going to work it out. It doesn't work it out. Standing there works it out just as much. It doesn't change anything by me doing this, is what I'm saying. So you probably feel quite powerless in that moment. But believe me, if you're having feelings, and you're having the feelings, whether you're making an action or not, you have presence. Because it's having these feelings that give you the presence. And allowing yourself to engage with it, that gives you this presence. But this with it doesn't. Nothing helps. You got it?
It's so interesting. I feel like so much of the performance work that I've done, the director is like, you should not have a feeling, the audience should have a feeling, and you should not. So this is the total opposite of it.
They will have,
Yeah.
this is the trip though, they will have feelings if you do. They won't if you don't. They'll just watch you. And if they're, you can do a lot of symbolic theater because you finish. You can do a lot of dramaturge worthy areas with feelings. But be careful, this mind reading of publics. I've been on stage, the best part of my life, and I can tell you right now, I can get a sense of a public, but I cannot read their minds. You got one guy going like this. You look at this guy and you think, they don't like it. You don't know if they just had an argument with somebody. They're out there, and in our country we have bars, and they have a drink, they're fighting like that, they go into the theater, they sit down and do this. We don't know, we can't read your mind. I do sense when I'm engaging the public. Do you understand that? The engagement of public is something else. You sense it, but then be careful. Do not try to read into that. You have a job with engagement to even sometimes sabotage it. To even at times when you think you got it like that, then go and exit. Okay, and surprise them and go, drop it again, and then bring it back up. That's your job. It's not to keep it like this so that it's always okay. No, it's also to let it go. Let it go. And also when you feel like, sometimes the best thing to do is stand there and have them wish you would do that. You can play with it, public feelings like that, but don't mind read it. And these choreographers and these directors who do that, that's just creepy shit coming from the 80s.
From the 80s?
It's also like you don't know the future. That's to this too.
They don't, why? The only thing that's really interesting in the way we're working here for the public actually is that it's live. because the visceral activity of live is missing in society right now. I mean, you know, you're not buying Britney Spears, you're not buying music, you're buying popular culture. And we live in a world like that, so the fact that you go out and do something live and drop the public and pick them up is already an emotional experience to take people through. The fact that they gather is a noble thing in 2013. Absolutely noble. And you should have absolute respect for your public for just doing that. Good for them. And I feel the thing that I have to lecture on now in the brain process of what you do, and it is a very brain thing, it's inhibiting your choices. That's what I see. And once the choice area gets inhibited, so I mean, darn it, I was literally doing this.
Yeah, I knew you were doing that, but I was moving my eye. I was just moving it less than you wanted me to.
Not only that, you didn't look at me.
No, I didn't want to look at you.
Well, fuck you. That's what I get to say. You fuck you then.
I was choosing.
You need to look at her.
I was choosing not to look at that.
Bad choice. You don't get to choose that. You get to choose. Listen. You get to choose in that conscious area of brain power. You get to choose pause, flow, or exit. You don't choose about the eye thing. You use your eye all the time. If she comes in front, I look at her. If I see that, I say, my job is to keep my eye active. I said, I have no choice there. There's no choice there. That's not choice. That's my central perceptors. That's my central perceptors. So there's a difference between how that operates with my brain. I'm not choosing there. In fact, what I'm using in my brain is to remember to use it, to remind myself, and to remember. That's the deal with that. So, you know, ear, eye, no, all the time active. You don't get to choose that.
I was making it active, I just wasn't using it to look at you. I was looking far away out the window, and I was using my peripheral vision to dance with, was it you? A woman who was near me, and then you came near us. So I was making a choice.
But you see, this is a point that I think is very interesting in the way you're operating. So choice is a very different thing. Just because I use the word choice, and we are in America, so this gets confusing, it has nothing to do with you. Choice is not about I get more, I get less, I get to choose to make more shampoos, it's a product area here, it's my choice. I choose this president, I get to vote. There's no voting in art. There's no in creativity. There just is time passing. There really is time passing. Whatever you have on your mind, choreograph. In other words, you don't get to choose.
Do I have to react if someone comes near me? I have to look at them?
You have to make a choice about what's going on there.
Yeah, I was.
Not for you, for the whole space.
So that brings me to the original question I asked you, which was, am I doing it for me, or am I doing it for the audience, or am I doing it for my partners? Your answer was, I have an obligation for the group, not just for myself.
Obligation is like making everything, The answer I'm going to give you is this. Fuck you, fuck me. We're doing art. We volunteer to walk out in front of people and be judged. That's it. That's it. That's a bottom line. And if we weren't being judged, we would be working with brain dead people. That's okay too. You can work in front of brain dead people because their brain doesn't work, so they don't judge. Yeah, but normally we're gathering people who aren't brain dead. Maybe a couple. That's okay too. But people whose brains are working, they pay their money to judge you. That's what they do. And there is nothing more graceful in the human brain, body, mind, humanism, than the potential to have an opinion. The potential, the right to say your opinion, to judge. Judges ethics, judges judicial systems, judges a great part of the brain. But we do a ridiculous thing. We walk in front of people and volunteer to be judged. Now let it in, or block it off, like we do with choreographies. We block that off and we just, and we go home and we don't hear we do that. No, we expose ourselves to it. We get vulnerable with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So this is a real thing we're doing here, and I get to have nothing to do with it. I have to get over myself here. I have to be the biggest idiot clown in the world. I have to discover my buffoon. I have to discover that, because I'm the idiot. Because nobody's choosing for me to do that but me. The public doesn't care if I do that. My parents didn't choose me to do that. I choose to do that. So you gotta make a choice for yourself every time. That's the only one you got. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And in this way of working, here we go, if I were to choreograph it, I could make you a solo, and then I make a trio here, and I make a and I make choices as the choreographer. And you're that. I don't do that. I have done that. For a living right now, what I'm saying is, it falls where it falls in chance, okay? Because I'm quite dedicated to this music, but also to a need for this in our societies today, to witness it in public. But it means that I don't get to choose to do a solo, me. The only way I can choose a solo to happen is if I'm duetting with someone, for example, and I exit. Now I've created a solo, because I've left her in the space. You see that? That's the only way I get to choose solo. I don't get to choose that even, because she can now choose to exit. And then she's left the space. There is no choice in this area. You give it up. That's what you do when you do this. Do you understand? And you consciously make the choice. I consciously am saying it's time for a solo. And I am off, because she's looking at the room and going, the hell it is, and she exits. So we all get to be artists in this situation, but you make artistic choices based on the humility of the situation, not on I want to do this, because I made a lot of choreography and got to do a lot of stuff I wanted to do, you know what I'm saying? And I got bloody bored after it went up for a little bit of time. I go, I wanted to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. So you sabotage it, and then you make another one, you know. So this is the great sabotage. So that's the answer to your question. And the respect goes to the audience's brain.
The what?
The respect goes to the audience.
The respect goes to the audience.
Absolutely. It goes to them.
The eye of the room.
Absolutely. The eye of the ear. They create the potential for this to happen, not me. I'm the idiot. I get out in front of them. You're an idiot to get out in front of them. You don't get to block anything off. You have to open it up. Okay? Sister?
All right.
In the opening up of that, though, what I'm very clear of in your questions, and he's doing the same thing, and that is that there's a self-consciousness you're not. That's the elephant. Is that the same here? It's in English, isn't it?
Yeah.
The elephant in the room. It's the one that we, you know, if we get a public in here together, and I was going to ask you to do this, what would happen? Were you going to get nervous?
Yeah.
You'd be nervous. Nervous is a byproduct, physical byproduct. You'd have sweat. You may have to go to the loo a lot. All kinds of stuff like that happens. It's a byproduct of that you're self-conscious with your choice of getting out in front of people. It's a reality, isn't it? It's not nothing. And in the time that you make the choice to go out, you're probably self-conscious when you're doing it. And you're finding all kinds of ways to get to psychodamage yourself out of it. All of you have a different way, like standing there for a very long time looking at your finger, or blocking your vision off like I'm choosing not to look at, or a lot of actions that are going like, damn, what this woman can do, and yet you're choosing that. Really, are you choosing that, or are you finding yourself? You know, are you dusting yourself off? Are you dusting your brain off and losing your presence in the meantime? Because all that dusting, it's what you're dusting off is the most powerful presence you have. It's your vulnerability. It's what's going to give you what you're dusting off is the presence. Indeed, the less you dust it off, the more you actually stand and take it, hear it, feel it, the more present you're going to become. But it's going to feel awful for you now. It's really naked, but it's going to eventually. Come right with me, the spirit. The spirit. You need the vulnerability. You need it. You need to go through it. You need to go through it because you've got so much that you're hiding in the process of this self-consciousness and perplexity. And then, what are we talking in that brain? Thoughtfulness. The thoughtfulness we talked about. Indeed, we're thinking, aren't we? Are we not thinking out there? We're thinking. All this fantastic music, and yet our brain has enough power left over to think. Indeed it does. Indeed it does. What do we do with that thinking? As soon as you're thinking, do something about it. Don't try to do that. This doesn't help. You have three choices. You can pause, you can flow, and you can exit. Choose. You're thinking because probably you needed to pause. You're thinking because you needed to exit. You're thinking because you need to do flow. Believe me, it's all like that. Is this clear?
Yeah.
What you are now being empowered with, now that I take all the power away from you, yourself, what you are empowered with here and yet not getting it is that you have the power of how this thing works in time.
I mean, the chances that he
In other words, if you're in pause and you're staying in time, you choose how long that pause is. You choose how short that pause is.
2 or 3 years.
If you're in flow, you choose how long this flow section is. You choose how short it is, back to pause. If you're in exit, you choose how long you're in exit. You choose how short you're in exit. And every moment in time is accountable with your choice. Not so much what you do, but that moment of choice. But it does mean that if I'm making a choice in exit even, in my mind-body state, I know because we're doing the gig, I'm still going exit. I choose exit. I choose exit. It's not like I get to make the choice once. I choose exit, now I go dead mean wait. There is no waiting in the theater. There is no waiting in the theater. Oh, there's only I choose exit. I choose, I still choose. I'm still choosing. I'm still choosing it. I'm still choosing it. I'm choosing flow. I choose flow. I'm still choosing flow. I choose pause. I choose pause. It's like a heartbeat. Choice is not something that you do once and then you wait. Choice is something you keep doing in the state you're doing. Is this clear? And there you have raw power. You have a super raw power because you choose the time and the shift of this piece. And they made a mistake there. They made a mistake.
Something that you said in the very beginning about it, that when we get into the space, we exit into the space.
No, because that's your self-consciousness. Thank you. That's your self-consciousness. That's you not choosing exit. Not choosing exit. I choose exit. I choose exit. I'm going to enter. I'm going to enter. What the fuck are you doing in your head there? That's a mess in your head right there. Fuck me. Just forget it. I choose exit. I choose exit. You don't have to choose. I choose flow. End it.
Okay,
Get over it. Yes. Don't take yourself very seriously there, my dear. Because you're gonna go red pink. If you don't, you're not human. Come on. If you got a crowd gathered in here and you didn't go red pink, I'd go, well, what are you, a dog? Come on. Dogs are wonderful in front of public. They never get self-conscious. Children are quite nice and things like that. We're the ones that are very complicated. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, what was going on in my brain is like, oh, if I enter the space, like I'm exit. Like if I exit into the space, I'm not making an entrance.
Well, you're already in exit. You're in exit. I'm 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 in flow. That's that. There's no entrance. It's just flow, pause, and exit. And guess what? I'm back. I'm in exit again. I can do it as long and short as I want. There's your power. See, if you're in my choreography, you exit when I say so. If you're in my choreography, you pause when I say so. You understand? And then when you're doing my comedy, you do my comedy. There's none of that here. That's you are the choreographer in that. And that's important. But you don't get to choose solo, and you don't get to choose do it. Even if that moves music is like, oh, I just grew I need to take that, I need a solo, I need to do it, forget it. You can only exit, pause, and flow, and leave to exit. You don't get to choose that. That's where your choice doesn't exist. Clear?
Yeah.
Already 15 minutes? Are we okay? Any questions about these issues? Did you understand what I gave you?
And then like different manufacturers, they
It's a music dance. Come on, it's music dance. You should learn about music. Did you understand what I gave you?
No.
I thought you...
Can we have a capsule version?
Well, what I gave them happened on music, but you guys were also in such a flux, you didn't notice it, you didn't track it. There was a certain moment when the thing had built up, and what was excellent was when we talked about in their exit area, and you shifts, but I don't remember the sound area was just righteous. Now you could hear Alfredo Genovese, his ear would tickle, and he felt something underneath and just went, it's hot, that's the one. And when that came in, they go, listen. And they would like an what a pity, because they had found a really interesting sound that they could have just played with, but what their tendency is to get all excited, and then they played it out. That was it. So So they're talking about that right now, how you use those moments and really get excited by the very simple thing you make. You make very simple things that have big journeys to go. And that crescendo is a kind of habit of ours, as Westerners. Asians less, but the Westerners have it, especially we were playing with shakuhachi plate, they don't crescendo, they just, here we go. And your use of time in this part, anyway, you have this, the orchestra. There's that use of
For every plie, it's like,
and if you're in India, the Koreans don't start that way. They start like this. Should we start? Okay. And then they don't use rhythm in the same way, and that's part of the problem happening. They start something and go dun 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 dun. Okay, we're gonna stay here for a while. We're gonna stay here for a while. So they go faster, slower, they speed up and go down on the drum. It's such an interesting way to retrain the ear and your feelings about that. You know? So there's no crescendo. But in this part of the world there is, and that's what they got caught up in, especially because they're horn players and its nature is to the orchestra or jazz.
I feel like there's a thing. I feel like we're doing that in our. I'm doing that in my body a bit too.
Thank you.
It's like. Like turn up the volume, turn up the airflow, and then you can't sustain it, and you can't stay in the working with that, so it runs out of juice, and then you're like, now what do I do? You know.
That's exactly it. And if you didn't understand, I thought when I said that to them there, I thought if you understood that you guys all did that too.
Yeah.
we totally did that moment. We were all like,
Well, you did that with them, but you also have a tendency when you get to something that you forget to look at what's very simple going on in it, that you can take further. Then I get into something and then I got to take it further. And now I pause. And then I pause. So everything is kind of in your choreographies that you're making is a bit up, and then I do that. Up, and it doesn't work that way. It's actually more like you want to cause some tension in the way you make choices. You know, just let the tension happen. That's what's interesting. And we're going to get to that game in order to do that, make it easier. Fuck jazz.
All right. Should we?
I've been around so many fucking jazz musicians in my life.
So there was something interesting that happened that you said about, you're trying to like get going and then you run out of energy.
Run out of juice, yeah.
Run out of juice. And there's something interesting about trying to actually take that, not drop it, but transform it, so that you're not kind of like getting to the crescendo and like, oh, okay, done, Some of these people know Keith Hennessy talk about that like dance or music that follows the male sexual response, which I thought was pretty hilarious. It's just like, oh right, you're done. Have a cigarette, go to sleep, right? But there's also the possibility of having that great amount of energy and transforming it into something else rather than just like dropping it.
And I also think it has to do with noticing noticing eye, ear, wakefulness, a very simple thing that's happened that can be developed, rather than thinking the only way to develop is to do more. Yeah. Less is best in that moment. Less is best. Just let it come. Pull back. Stand back. I don't know if I like the association with sex with it.
Don't do that. You don't need to go there.
Yeah.
This is the parallel to crescendo of just like you don't need to come. I mean,
The hell I know.
sorry, you're in San Francisco, but
Work it. Your job is for me to come.
I feel like this is also American.
We're going to go there. Let's go there.
I've been nodding my head all afternoon.
Very American.
Really nodding right now.
Over time. But I associate theater with sex. I always think that there is a thing that is questionable what we're talking about, I do think. And that is when we're saying, and this takes days and time, but this thing that we're doing about thinking is happening, that choice, and as soon as you get into this wakefulness and start doing this, something can happen where it is shaman-like and healing. You're going to go out of your mind, but there's a misunderstanding that if you just sort of get into something, you shaman up. I'm sorry, not. There's a lot of process and discipline to this. And discipline is key in all that happens. And you could ask the Koreans, and you could ask, you know what I'm saying? So it is shaman-like.
I can ask what?
The Koreans or
Oh, okay.
the Turkish. There's a lot of discipline in getting to that mind state of creativity. And it doesn't happen just because, you know, I get in there. It really doesn't. This is never going to happen. And the shaman thing has to, if it's going to be shaman, it has to heal the room, not you. That's the shaman's job, to heal the room.
We need some healing over there.
Do you?
We
need to
do.
plan?
When you play.
15 minutes? I'm going to show you something, and we're going to take just a little bit.
No, it's close my eyes. I know something.
Inversions of those. Come here, I'm going to teach you something. It's a game I play. It's really something to help wind you down about pause and exit. It also starts to accentuate for you the difference of choosing flow. It's all about the choice and how pause and exit. And it's also about misunderstanding. What a great choreographer is she. Misunderstanding. I'm very happy because it's a bit to do with what you're talking about. Being very happy with misunderstanding. Misunderstanding is the choreography. Is this clear? Now I'm going to explain the game to you, and as I start to explain, you're going to go like, wah, wah, because it gets complicated in the way it's done, but not the way it's explained. Is that clear? So give me time as we go. And then once we got it, we're going to play music and have. Ready? All right. If anyone in the room, in the company, in the team, goes and stands in a position facing it, everybody has to join. And not just me, anybody. Anybody does this, you have to join. As soon as you've done this, it means that this is the front and this is the playing space. And anyone can use pause for an exit. This now being exit. Changed up a bit, huh? How you played the game with the game involved. You see what I mean? Yeah. And also, did you completely lose the game about the pocket, don't you?
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. It's okay.
The empty pocket, yeah, I played that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the other game is kind of strict. It's, you've got to be on. But this one, I think it's good to forget it and just get on with it. Very nice. You happy with it? Okay, it's a change for you? Are you hearing the music more? Thank you. Are you on the music now? Did you hear that piece?
More.
It's getting clearer.
More remembering to hear it.
Interesting
Yeah.
how all this discipline gives you space to hear the music and to get things going on. Very nice.